everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be recommending some books that you should read this fall. I ended up with so many books here that I'm actually going to do a second video. So next week I'm going to be posting a video about books to read for Halloween, and the two lists are kind of going to overlap, not in the sense that they're going to repeat books, but they're kind of like the topics of the books might bleed a little bit. I tried to separate them as best as I could to see like what was more Halloween and what was more fall vibes, but it's all the same, like one will work for the other, vice versa. So that being said, I actually have a ton of books to talk about today. I probably could pick even more, but I decided to kind of stop myself because there are so many books here. Also, obviously, Charlie is visiting. He's too short for you to really see from down there, but here he is. So I decided to film this video on the floor because he was just sitting in his bed so nicely, and also I filmed quite a few videos and I've been standing and I just don't want to stand anymore. But during the fall, I like to read kind of mystery thrillers. I'm not super into thrillers, so am I boring you? I'm sorry. The thrillers that I read are probably a lot different than the thrillers that other people might read. Those might be actual horror, but I'll be talking about those more in my second video of Halloween reads, the more spooky kind of scares me reads. Today we're gonna be focusing on the fall vibes, which is really anything that I feel like I can just like sit by a window when it's raining and just feel cozy reading it. Must you? I feel like we have a good range of books here, so let's just get into it. The first book is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is not like an unknown book by any means, but it's one of the first popular books that comes to mind when I think of a book with fall vibes. There's something about the whole series, the mystery surrounding it, the setting of it, everything about it just makes me think that it's the perfect series to get into during the fall season. This is a 4-book series, and then there's actually a companion series that isn't out yet. I'm sorry if you can hear Charlie's little click-clacking paws on the floor. I don't have a rug in here anymore because the rug that I have doesn't fit the space. It's too small, so he's just gonna be click-clacking about. Anyways, this follows Blue and the Raven Boys, and I'm sure that you have heard of this series before, but just in case you haven't, there is a lot of lore surrounding it. It is just a very well fleshed out series. It deals with dreams, there's some spooky things, there's a dead king, there's just a lot happening, and it's a super cool read, so I definitely recommend it, especially for fall. Next up is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This is one of the ones that I was definitely torn between putting it in Halloween or in this video, but I decided to go for this video because, well, there are kind of some spooky Halloween-y elements. It's not really Halloween, it deals with the Day of the Dead, and it deals heavily with the main character's culture, and the main character is also a transgender teen boy who is just hoping to fit in, and his family isn't exactly accepting him, so he's struggling with that, and love is kind of at the core of this story. Those relationships are at the core of it. So he ends up actually summoning the ghost of the bad boy at school who has recently passed away, and then he's stuck with him for the day. So that is essentially what the story is following. It's following them, their relationship. It's just such a beautifully written story, really well done, very rich, I feel like. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but it just completely like pulled me in and I really fell in love with it. So I think it's definitely a good one for fall. Next is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is probably like, I mean, all of these have fall vibes, but I feel like this is the #1 fall read to me. It is these creepy fairy tales. You have a main character whose grandmother has just passed away, and her grandmother used to write these fairy tales that were super popular, have like, I mean, they're not even super popular, but they have a very dedicated cult following, and she ends up going to her estate, and there's just just a lot of like really creepy things happening. Her mother has gone missing, so she's trying to piece together things, and it just is the most atmospheric read, which I feel like is perfect for fall. Definitely one to check out. Next is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is more of kind of like, in a way, it's a psychological thriller. It's one that I don't really want to say a lot about because it will definitely surprise you. You kind of think you're reading one thing and then it ends up being something completely different, and that has really divided readers, but I still don't exactly know how I feel about it. I think the fact that it's a book that I am still thinking about long after means that it was a good choice on the author's part. So it's definitely a very interesting read. Definitely will take you on a wild ride, but it is about a girl who allegedly murdered this baby when she was younger. She was babysitting, and obviously no one knows what actually happened, but now she's in a group home and you're following her experiences there. So it's a lot, but definitely worth the read. Next is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So I didn't love this book personally, but I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it, which is why I wanted to mention it. It is kind of like The Breakfast Club, but with murder thrown in. So there's a murder and they're all at detention and they're trying to figure out, like, it's a whodunit sort of story. So definitely one for around this time of year. And I also have another one that's kind of similar, but I feel like I liked it a little bit more, which is All Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban. I didn't like love this one either, but I preferred it a little bit. So it did have me thinking the entire time. So this is about characters who, they're all like very opposite. They never really interact all that much, but they are locked in this room together because they were invited to the scholarship dinner, and all of them show up, but it actually is a trap where there is a syringe where they need to either kill one of them, like decide on one of them to kill, or there's a bomb that's going to go off and kill all of them. So you are following like then and now and seeing how they all got there, the journey there and everything, and having this mystery obviously the entire time too. I find these are just kind of like more fun mystery stories where you're wondering what's going on. So I think they're good. That was just a really weird way to end that, but I haven't filmed in so long that I'm out of season. Next is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So before going into this one, do be mindful there are numerous triggers for it, so definitely check that out if that is something that you need to be aware of. But it is a really interesting story. It's kind of a hard one to describe because it's not like anything that I've ever read before, but the setting just, I don't know if it's because I read it in fall of last year, but it absolutely screams fall to me. It's set at Yale and it deals with ghosts, but like not really as you know them. There's some interesting magic in here. It's a very, very eerie read. It's kind of unsettling, I guess, but I did enjoy it. As much as you can kind of enjoy a read like this, I did enjoy it. Next is Tiny Pretty Things by Sona Chaire-Potra and Danielle Clayton. This actually was adapted into a Netflix series. I haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet. I think I watched half of the first episode, but then I was distracted for whatever reason, but I will watch it soon. However, it is ballet, but like very different. So you're following 3 different characters and they're all at this New York ballet school, and it is vicious. There's a lot happening. Like, it's a wild ride, but it definitely has some super unsettling scenes. There's kind of a little bit of a mystery element and lots of twisted things going on, all kind of building up. It's really like a web that you are caught in, but it's really addictive to read, and I had a great time with it. Next is Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston. This is a super cool fantasy for fall because it's set in the forest. It deals with animals, like there's a fox as a main character. I feel like during fall, forests make me think of fall, maybe because of the trees and everything, but for that reason, I feel like a natural fantasy like this is really good for that time of year. However, it does also kind of deal with like the dead coming back to life a little bit. It's really weird. You're dealing with royalty, and this character, she is the daughter of the royal florist, but they end up being trapped in this forest that is like there's a lot going on there. So you're following her, and as the story unfolds, there are things being revealed. It's a very interesting fantasy. Next is Reboot by Amy Tintera. So I read this book so long ago, but it kind of is zombies a little bit, and I'm not generally a big fan of zombies, but this one I did actually like. Essentially, when someone dies, they can come back as a reboot where they're like faster and stronger and better than they were before, and that's exactly what happens to the main character. So 5 years ago, he died, and then 178 minutes later, he woke up. Obviously, there's going to be some issues with that, but I really was blown away by this book when I read it, and definitely think that it's a great one for fall. Actually, that reminds me, any of Neil Shusterman's books are super good for fall or around Halloween because they are so unsettling. Like Unwind, I will never forget a certain scene from it. Oh my goodness, it's ugh. But then also Scythe, I feel like is good for fall because it deals with death, and I just feel like the whole idea of scythes is so like eerie and creepy, and yeah, I just definitely would recommend those books for fall too. I just forgot to grab them, and like I said, I had to stop myself somewhere. Next is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angeles. This is a book where you're not really going to know up from down, and it's a twisted, circusy sort of interesting setting. The setting is very atmospheric, and it just will, like, you're gonna feel like you're losing it a little bit, but that's what I think makes this book really great and perfect for fall. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Caraval. I feel like Caraval is also one that is great for around this time of year, but if you're looking for kind of a weird, twisted, circus-esque story, then this is a great one to go to. Next is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. So this is a world where monsters, they can be killed by music, but it's a world where monsters are all around. So definitely something that I feel like fits the fall season. It's so hard to describe why a book is perfect for a certain season. I struggle with it so much, so I apologize. But this is definitely one that I feel like is really interesting because it's kind of a meeting of two different characters who shouldn't get along, but they do, and that kind of power, not power struggle or power imbalance, they're coming from very different sides of things, and it makes for a really interesting dynamic. Next is Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. This is kind of similar to Where Dreams Descend in the fact that it's a circus, but the main character in this one, it's a magical circus, and her ability, I mean, I guess the other one's kind of a magical circus too, but her ability is to create illusions. So her entire family around her pretty much is illusions. So they're not actually real, like they're just these illusions. But then someone goes around and starts murdering her illusions. So there's a murder mystery to it as well, but it definitely is a super atmospheric and vibey read, and that's why I think it's great for this time of year. Next is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This pretty much, like, I like to describe it as kind of being like Clue. There's some riddles and stuff, there's a lot of questions surrounding it, and you're kind of trying to piece everything together as you go through the story. So I'm planning on reading the sequel soon actually, but if you don't know what this book is about, it is about this girl. She has come from poverty and she ends up inheriting a billionaire's fortune when he dies. It's someone she doesn't know, so there are a lot of questions about why she's been given this, and the catch to getting that fortune is that she actually has to stay with his family, who obviously isn't very happy, on his estate. So you're kind of piecing things together, and like there are just, I still have so many questions and I need answers. But because of that, it's definitely one of those unputdownable reads. And the final book I wanted to mention today is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. This I feel like is perfect for fall because it's a Sherlock Holmes retelling, but gender bent. So like, what more could you want? Sherlock Holmes, to me, just perfect for this time of year. So you follow Sherlock and Watson, they're at this boarding school. Obviously you're going to have a murder mystery. Like I said, it's gender bent, and it's just a really fun and easy, but also like you're trying to piece things together sort of read. So those are all the books that I wanted to recommend for fall, but like I mentioned, I'm going to right now actually film my Halloween book recommendation, so that will be up next week. Stay tuned for that. But if you do enjoy bookish videos, I post new videos 3 times a week, so don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post and will never miss a video. But please let me know what books you think are great for the fall season, what kinds of books you want to read. Like, I'm a major mood reader, so you could read these whenever, but I just feel like they definitely fit fall. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another new video soon. Bye!